How many fist bumps did you and Howie get?
380. Howie and I
in
got
how long?
30 seconds.
380 fist bumps?
I was moving so fast.
Can we beat it?
Can we beat the record or get it on camera?
Yeah, can we beat it?
Gentlemen, we will begin in 3, 2, 1.
My name is David, Record Breaker Rush.
Are you actually a record breaker?
I have broken over 250 Guinness World Records titles.
What? David Rush is an engineer from MIT, but that's not how most people know him.
And that was terrifying.
Record Breaker Rush, as he's known, is attempting to become the Guinness World Record holder for holding the most Guinness World Records. He's pushed his body to the extreme to set records that require incredible endurance, including his success in juggling 3 balls for the longest time in recorded history. That's over 13 hours. I wanted to speak to David about how he's handled the incredible strain he's put on his body, as well as his remarkable relationship with failure. I've yet to meet someone who's as passionate about learning from failure as David. Make sure to stick around through the end of this interview where David and I actually make our official attempt at breaking our own Guinness World Record. For now, help me to welcome record breaker David Rush to the Checkup podcast. I've had on my podcast GOATs of soccer, all-stars of NBA, NFL, boxing champions. Now, is it true that I have the GOAT of failure in front of me?
I think you're
I
right.
You thought I was gonna go the wrong direction.
No, that is much more what I am attuned to because I am used to failing over and over and over again. And this is what I speak to about audiences now. I used to work in tech for 13 years. Now I'm a keynote speaker talking about failure does not define you. How you respond to it does.
Sure. And take us through your journey of learning to love failure, because I feel like that's what you're leading by example with.
I mean, nobody loves failure, but figuring out how to respond to it. Because when you fail, you want to crawl into a hole and disappear. You want to avoid it. It's very uncomfortable. And so as we grow up, a kid learning to walk, they stand up, all they know is falling down.
Yep.
And every time they fall down, they get back up and they get back up. And at some point, I think in our lives, we become successful at so many things that we don't have to do the things we're not good at anymore. Yep. And so we stop doing those things.
I think I see this quite often with young physicians and older physicians and see the drastic differences between the two, where young folks are so evidence-based. They want to go by the book. They want to do the right thing. And then they become so rigid that they go by the book where they stop thinking about the individual sitting in front of them and the experience that they could bring to that person. On the other hand, you have the older physicians that are pure experience. I don't care what the book says. I've been doing this for 40 years, so I'm not changing. But in your world, you actually welcome that change and it shapes you to set some amazing, not just barriers for yourself, but world records at this point, right? Mm-hmm. How many world records do you have in the moment?
So I've broken about 300 Guinness World Records titles.
Wow.
And I currently hold about 160.
So there's 140 where someone has surpassed you. How often does that happen? I'm curious.
So I've been breaking records for about 8 years and it happens on a regular basis. I've lost about half the records I've broken so far.
And who tracks this? Like, I know obviously Guinness World Records tracks it, but like, are there individuals who are like, oh, that's a record I want to attempt, that's a record. Are you all in the same community?
Yeah, well, I mean, in a community, we don't all know each other. We know of each other, and I've had conversations with several of them. But there's this community of what are called super record breakers. They go out there and they try to break as many records as they possibly can.
And do you guys like sit in a group chat, on a WhatsApp group chat, and say like, oh, you suck, I can do that I can break that real easy?
No, I've just had a few, like maybe an email conversation or an Instagram message back and forth, and there's a couple of them I've met in person, but for the most part we just know of each other.
Got it. Okay, so it's a supportive, nurturing environment.
I mean, it's we're respectful to each other, but it's definitely competitive.
Okay, that's exciting. And how does one enter the space, you've been doing it for 8 years, to start saying I'm going to be the world record breaking champion?
So it didn't start that way for me. I mean, I've been promoting STEM education for the last 15 years, as science, technology, engineering, and math. Talk about how I wasn't smart enough to get into the gifted program in the Idaho public education system. And yet through hard work, I eventually went off to MIT and got my electrical engineering degree. And I was invited to talk to students about what was your journey like? And educators like, did the educators in Idaho prepare you for the academic rigor of MIT? And I said, yeah. And I came and gave a talk. but I'm like, I'm not just going to give a talk. I like to entertain people. I'm a juggler, so I'll juggle while I do it. And so I did that, and the response was great. So I did another talk and another talk. And so this is while working in a technology startup in Boise. And after, it kind of snowballed from there. And after 13 years, we had the largest technology exit in Idaho's history.
Wow.
And so this
what
last
was the
year,
company?
Cradle Point. So a networking company, wireless routers. I was a product manager, which is, kind of I didn't even know it existed. But after I got my MBA, I'm like, this is what I want to do because it's the intersection of technology, sales, converting, sales requirements. What does the industry want into technical requirements? And then telling the engineers like, this is what we need to build. Can you help me figure out how to build it? And so I'm the in between the technical sales, interacting with marketing and finance. And
so you're
the
the
entire
router.
company.
You're the router.
Yeah, the hub of all that putting together.
Exactly.
And then so in 2022, I left my job in tech to become a full-time keynote speaker.
How do you make that transition?
You got to have the base to start from. I've had 15 years of public speaking experience, and then I had the financial stability of like, I can quit my job in tech now and do what I want.
Wow.
What do I want to spend my time doing? And so I have 3 young kids at home as well. So a 5 and a 7-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl. And so 3 days a week, I'm full-time at home with my 1-year-old girl while my wife's off being a mechanical engineer at HP.
Wow, okay.
So we've got, and it starts with having a supportive wife, supportive family. Jennifer is amazing, and she's participated in many records and also been the support staff for hundreds of them at this point. So I couldn't do it without her.
Obviously, family is important to you. The idea of increasing engagement in the STEM community. What did you feel was going on that there wasn't as much engagement in the STEM community? What did you want to change?
So there's a couple things there. One is the awareness of a lot of the jobs in today's economy are driven by STEM careers, understanding programming. How does the world work? You got AI, self-driving cars, rockets going to the moon, or trying to go to the moon, in which case I was sitting next to folks that were sending trying to send something to the moon, and there was a fuel leak in it. And so a few days later, I'm like, it didn't make it. But there's the economy part driving need for STEM careers. But here's the bigger piece that goes into it. A student will struggle with math or fail a scientist and say, I can never become an engineer, because they don't believe they can. And so what I'm trying to promote is having a growth mindset and pursuing their goals with grit. Because as Angela Duckworth says, the number one predictor of success isn't past success. It isn't academic achievement. It isn't SAT scores. It isn't even socioeconomic status. It's grit. It's not giving up when you fail. That is the number one predictor of success across, trying to become a Green Beret, a spelling bee contestant, or a serial world record breaker.
And that mindset, how do you incorporate it into your presentations when you do speak?
Yeah, so grit is not giving up when things get hard.
Okay.
And so it's a story-based approach of, when I tried to break my first world record, it was going to be the fastest half-mile run while juggling. And so I spent the next 2 years training for this. This is before I ever broken a record, because I was speaking to folks and I'm like, how do I create this tangible example that if you set your mind to a goal that you've set with guts, pursue it with grit and a growth mindset, you can accomplish virtually anything. And I'm like, I've always wanted to break a Guinness World Records title. I never believed I could, but if I'm talking about this, I need to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I spent the next 2 years training. I ran over 2,000 miles while juggling.
Wow, 2,000?
Yeah, over a couple of years. It was short runs, long runs. I was wind sprints, time trials. I was running till my legs burned and my lungs were on fire, and I kept running more because I believed I was going to break this world record. And I vastly overestimated the accolades a single world record would bring. So that self-delusion propelled me.
And what does it take to run fast but juggle at the same time? Is it coordination? Is it endurance? What changes in that?
So honestly, the actual act of joggling, as it's called, isn't as counterintuitive as you might think. Because when you're running and running, you're doing this.
Yeah.
And your arms are pumping with this motion. And so it's actually easier to run and juggle than it is to walk and juggle.
Interesting.
Because the arm motion, when you time it right, isn't so bad. And it started actually when I was in college. A little side story here. In 2005, my brother invited me out to Seattle to spend Thanksgiving with him, with my other brother. And I booked the tickets and was flying out, and he said, oh, by the way, I'm running the Seattle Half Marathon that weekend. I'm the competitive younger brother.
Okay.
There's no way I'm going to go visit him and he run a half marathon and I don't do it. So I had time to take exactly 2 training runs before I go out. And I took a 5 and a 7 miler around the Boston Bridge Loop system that they've got there. But I was like, I don't just want to run this. I want to juggle while I do it. Because I knew about joggling, but I'd never done it before. So I took 2 joggling runs. And the first time I dropped it a bunch of times. The second time, maybe only 3 or 4 times. So I'm like, I can do this. And then the day of the half marathon in Seattle, it snowed. It doesn't ever snow in Seattle. Hands are absolutely frozen. And I'm like, I don't think I can wear gloves while I do this. I'm too afraid. So my fingers actually like just went numb. They were so cold in the first 3 miles. Every time the ball hit them, it was like, that shooting, spiking pain. I don't even know what it's called. I'm sure there's a medical term for it, but it hurt like crazy. But after about 3 miles, I warmed up. Ended up dropping the balls only 3 times, including in the football stadium at the finish. So everybody knew that I didn't know actually. They thought I never actually juggled a half marathon. And from there, I've been juggling ever since. So it's not that difficult once you know how to juggle and can run and juggle at the same time.
When you say it's not that difficult, I find it hard to wrap my head around that, given the fact that I struggle to go and run 5 miles and I'm a professional athlete myself, and you're doing it and you're like, oh, I'm just joggling, and I did it after 2 training runs and my fingers were falling off. I had frostbite, but it's not that hard.
This I should preface that I've been juggling since I was 8, and I started the MIT Student Juggling Club, so I juggled hundreds of hours at that point. So,
how many members were there of the MIT Juggling Club?
Actually, we had over 300 on the roster. Yeah,
300.
Yeah.
Is there a club for anything, or is this like a known? Like, is there a juggling community?
Oh, there's absolutely juggling community. In fact, there's the MIT Juggling Club, which kind of has merged with the student one at this point, has been it's the longest continuously operating drop-in juggling club in the world. It's been around since the 1970s with Arthur Lubel created it. So every Sunday in Lobby 10 under the Great Dome at MIT, you can go there from I think 3 to 5 p.m. and there's going to be jugglers there, and there have been for the last almost 50 years. That's
incredible. What started the movement? Like, how did people get into juggling? Like, I guess historically speaking.
I mean, juggling's been around for thousands of years. I mean, I think there are depictions of blindfolded juggling from, Chinese books or Chinese writing from 2500 BC of like 7-sword blindfolded juggling depicted in these pictures. Now, I don't think they actually juggled 7 swords blindfolded because, I mean, I've got the world record for longest duration juggling blindfolded, and 3 balls is pretty difficult. And I'm one of the, seven swords blindfolded isn't physically possible, I don't believe.
All right, so I got to ask this. When I go to a party, everyone's like, oh, Dr. Mike, can you tell me what's this rash? Dr. Mike, can you tell me why my back hurts? Dr. Mike, I heard this thing. It's a miracle weight loss pill. And they ask me those questions. How often are people accosting you to start juggling?
Not start juggling so much, because juggling is maybe a little passe in those scenarios, but to ask about the world records, like what's the latest? What are you working on now?
So they're not asking to see it? That's incredible to me. Yeah.
So the parties I go to are with my close friends. They've seen it already. They don't want to see it anymore.
They're like, all right, I got it. 13 hours of you juggling. I've seen it. I got it. Did you record that 13-hour juggling session? Because that is the world record of juggling, right?
Yeah, so the 2 ways you can validate a Guinness World Records title. One, you could have the adjudicator on site, which I've done several times with, TV shows and big public events. The other route, you can actually do it completely free. You can create a free account on GuinnessWorldRecords.com, apply for a record for free, they'll send you the rules, and then you make an attempt. And to have that be validated, you have to have independent witnesses, timekeepers, video evidence, photograph evidence, sometimes specialty evidence submitted off the Guinness, they'll approve it. So in this case, I had to record the whole thing continuously from 4 different cameras, because if one dies, I want to make sure it's recorded.
And obviously 13 hours without a bathroom break, that's hard. How do you do that?
So this was one of the reasons it took me so long to make the attempt, because like, how am I going to have this happen? So the previous record was 12 hours, 5 minutes. So that's what I need to break. So I need to fill out food, water, bathroom, all that logistics, and then not mess up for 13 or 12 hours, 5 minutes.
That was the record.
Previous record is 12 hours, 5 minutes. So the first time I make the attempt, I'm 3.5 hours into the attempt, and I'd set it 3 weeks before my wife's due date, because I'm like, that's as close as I want to get. I don't want to risk this being interrupted. And 3.5 hours into the attempt, wife texts from the hospital.
No.
To the neighbor who was there, not coming home until we have a baby. And it took me, I'm a little embarrassed to say, probably, I think 9 minutes to come to the realization I cannot wait another 9.5 hours before I go to the hospital.
Okay. So that was attempt number 1.
That was attempt number 1. attempt number 2.
Was there a baby in hand?
There was a baby in hand. Yeah, it
Okay.
was several months later. You have to let the baby newborn. So my wife was then support staff for the next attempts, and she was super, super supportive, helped me out, knew my needs,
Okay.
and couldn't have done it without her. So attempt number 2, I'm there juggling. I'm 10 hours, 53 minutes in the attempt. 2 balls collide, drop to the floor, attempt over.
And what happened? Why did they collide?
No!
Just miscalculation.
Just, one throw, just a little bit off. The ball's nicked, couldn't recover. Sometimes I can recover from a knock, but and I'm just screaming. I'm like,
Are you in tears? You're so close.
I mean, just my head in my hands being like, I can't believe I just watched Titanic, flew across the Atlantic, and I've got nothing to show for it. I mean, just absolute devastation.
That's painful. And then what were you doing to solve all those logistical issues? Because 10 hours is a long time.
I mean, it's a really long time. So what I decided is I would wear a adult diaper.
Okay.
I tried to restrict my fluid intake. And then for number 2 there, I took anti-diarrheal pill.
No way.
I don't know if that's a good idea, but
I don't recommend. Were you having diarrhea at the moment?
No, not. It was just so I didn't have to go to the bathroom to make sure I wouldn't have to go to the bathroom that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you have a cup of coffee?
So I try to avoid caffeine.
Okay. Because that makes you want to go pee. And poop.
Avoid caffeine. And I usually have caffeine in the morning, so avoid caffeine. I think that might have contributed to some of the dizziness I was having that day. But mostly it was those balls going around in the infinity pattern back and forth because I was getting
hypnotizing.
I was getting vertigo. Yeah. And so I actually, alternate between looking at the balls, looking through the balls at the floor, and then looking at all the cameras to make sure the red lights are flashing. And then I had a clock running, look at the clock to see where I am because if I stare at the balls the entire time, I'll just get so dizzy I fall over.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. And then what about hydration during or food during? Is someone feeding your Snickers bar off to the side?
So the first time I did it, I had food and water off to the side, like bananas and PB&J sandwiches and water with the straw and some electrolyte solution with the straw. But it was too distracting to move the stuff in front of my mouth, blocking the arms. I just didn't want to deal with that pressure. So the next attempts, I wore a Camelback. So in the Camelback, I got the hose in my mouth the entire time with the straw. And then what I chose was high protein chocolate milk and protein powder.
Okay.
And so I over 13 hours, probably drank about 3,000 calories worth of that during the attempt to provide hydration and calories.
Wow. That's really hard. I could also see if you were restricting fluid before, that can contribute to some dizziness and fatigue and coordination.
Yeah.
Did you struggle with that while you were doing it?
I did a little bit. So attempt number 2, I am 10 hours and 23 minutes in the attempt. Oh my God. And then there was a ball on the floor.
Wait, so the second attempt?
10 hours and 23 minutes. And I'm standing there being like, why is there a ball on the floor? I was so delirious. I didn't understand why there was a ball on the floor.
Because you're still throwing up 3 balls.
No, I only had 2 balls. I have 2 balls. I've dropped a ball. And I was just so dizzy, delirious, vertigo, and 10 and a half hours of doing the exact same thing over and over. And I'm like, why? So I failed this time too. So what I did is I watched the video back. And I didn't understand why I dropped the ball. Watch it in slow motion. Still don't know what's going on. Frame by frame analysis. My right hand has a ball in it. I'm juggling. It comes up with a ball.
But your hand doesn't let go.
It doesn't let go. And it comes back down.
And it just hits the other ball.
After 125,000 throws, I forgot to throw a ball.
You counted the throws? How do you know it's 125,000?
So I count a minute worth of throws and then I multiply a minute throughout
so it's an
the
estimate.
attempt. Yeah, it's an estimate. And I can get a pretty good estimate because I count 1 minute and then an hour in, 2 hours in, 5 hours in to make sure, because the speed varies over time to get a pretty good estimate of how many throws I made.
Got it. And then what was the successful attempt? How many?
So
at that point, are you like, what's your mindset after fail?
So the first time I did it, I was like, I want to go after this right away. But I'd actually torn a muscle in my arm because of 11 hours of juggling, overuse. So I couldn't make that attempt right away. And I had a baby in hand. So it took several months to heal up.
Okay.
Second attempt, 10 hours, 23 minutes in, fail. I'm like, I want to go after it right away. I schedule an attempt right away. A week later, my wife's like, I just spent all day watching all the kids, taking care of everything. And you want to do it again? I'm like, yes, I do. Thank you, honey. So it was just a week later for this 4th attempt. So the 4th attempt, I'm getting to that 10 and a half hour mark. And I'm so nervous because this was where I failed the other 2 times. My arms are like shaking, which is the most likely reason to cause me to juggle. And I'm like, don't shake. Make it 11 hours, 11 and a half. And when I get close to that 12 hours, I'm just staring at these balls going back. Normally I'm a little bit more relaxed, but I'm just so uptight, staring, going back and forth. I don't know where I am. The eyes are just delirious. I'm getting that vertigo sense. And then finally, it's way after my kids' bedtime, but my wife let him stay up. And my 7-year-old says from the corner of the room, "Congratulations, Daddy, you passed the record." And I was like, yes, I finally did it.
Do you just throw the balls on the floor?
No, I was able to relax, enjoy it, and I juggled another hour and 5 minutes.
Isn't it crazy how much our mental fortitude and our mental state contributes to our performance?
I mean,
because at hour 11, you were fading. You would think by, hour 12 and a half, you would be more sore, your muscles would be more fatigued. But because the pressure came off and the excitement came out, suddenly got easier.
I mean, the mind controls the body. And
that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Because there's no other way. And I have patients come in. You're obviously a story of performance. They have issues with injury, let's say. Mm-hmm. They will tell me, when I'm having a good time, my pain doesn't bother me. But when I'm stressed out at work, it really bothers me. It's like, well, if you had a tear in your muscle or your rotator cuff wasn't working, it doesn't just pick times where it works. This is something that's clearly being influenced by the mental health state, which we then talk about, we address the mental health concerns, and then suddenly the pain gets better. But we didn't actually fix anything anatomically, and it goes to show the power of the mind and body connection. Mm-hmm. So you're the prime example of it from the performance aspect and why we have sports psychologists on all the major teams.
For sure.
Do you ever have to consult a sports psychologist or a mental health specialist?
I thought about it because one of the things I really struggle with is anxiety related to blindfolded juggling. Those two things
specifically.
And the reason is it was a traumatic event early in my career. I broke my first world record in 2015, and in 2016 I got invited onto the Today Show here in New York City. I found it's live national television, and so I come out here. It's the first time I've ever on TV, and the last for all I know. Because at this point, I'm not a serial record breaker. I've only got like 2. And I'm like starstruck. Like, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is the coolest thing ever. So I get out there on the front of the 3 big cameras. Hoda introduces me, and it's for the world's fastest blindfolded juggling. The most juggling catches in 1 minute while blindfolded. Mm-hmm. This is one of the records I'd broken. So I actually owned the record, and I could beat it in 45 seconds. But I practiced so much that my goal wasn't just to break that record. I was going to become, I was going to become the world's fastest juggler, period, on this show, while blindfolded, breaking that record as well. And I'd practiced so much I knew I could do it. I get in front of those bright lights. Hoda introduced me, put the blindfold on. The Guinness adjudicator with the clipboard says, "For the record books, 3, 2, 1, go." And I start juggling. About 15 seconds in, it's like a bear jumped out of me. Heart rate spikes, adrenaline surges through the body. My arms turn to spaghetti, and I dropped a ball. Did I think this might happen? Sure. In fact, I'd practiced so much, I didn't even have to take the blindfold off. I could hear where the ball dropped based on sound, reached down, picked it up, let's go again. So I'm like, okay, just a hiccup. I start again. 20 seconds in, that bear jumps out at me again. I drop the ball again. Devastating. This time I have to take out the blindfold, pick up the ball. I'm jumping around. Just nerves. I say on to try to calm myself. Just nerves. Let's do it again. And the hosts are like, "Is he allowed to do it again?" They're asking the adjudicator. I didn't know if I was allowed to do it again. They didn't know if I was allowed to do it. What I did know at this point, it is live TV. If they don't let me do it again, they're going to look like jerks. So they let me do it again.
Got it.
So I get the blindfold on. I'm starting juggling. And this time, I know I'm so nervous. I gave up on the world's fastest juggling period. I'm just going to break the world record they know I'm there to break. Because all I have to, I could do it in 45 seconds. All I have to do is finish the minute. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 seconds in, I can feel myself getting nervous. My arms are getting shaky. I'm just hold it together. Just keep juggling. You'll be fine. 35 seconds, 40 seconds in, drop the ball again.
Oh my God.
I wanted to crawl in a hole and disappear. Just absolutely devastated. That the biggest shot of my life.
How are the hosts reacting?
Oh, they're very apologetic. There was a consolation prize. I got a hug from Hoda.
But that's gotta feel terrible. Like,
yeah, and I can hear the production crew talking and be like, "Oh yeah, you can't break all the records. Sometimes you gotta show that it's difficult." And they're just talking about me as I'm not there. I'm like, "Yep, I'm the guy that failed this week." And so ever since then, anytime I put a blindfold on and I'm juggling for a record, I get super nervous. Other records, not so much. I've been America's Got Talent a couple times. Those records, much less pressure because they weren't like performance-based ones where I have to move super fast. And if I can't see them and I get nervous, I fail. Yeah.
Wow. So it's like in that specific setting, you feel it come on. You know, we've seen professional stunt folks who have done the most incredible feats. And then sometimes something triggers inside of them. I remember I think it was the highest jump. Have you heard about that? Where it was like the highest free fall jump off a parachute with a parachute. And the person jumping was so afraid to jump, even though they've done the most incredible feats, for some reason, just couldn't do it. Just couldn't step off the platform. And it made no sense, but it really highlights how much control the mind has over the body and how working on the mental aspect really makes you perform better in all aspects of life.
Absolutely.
And grit is the prime example of that. So I'm curious how you now face, if you were to go and do the blindfolded challenge now, what's your strategy now?
So, I mean, talking about having grit predicts success on a growth mindset is absolutely critical to it. One, having a growth mindset, it's the psychology of understanding you can get better at anything. And there's no hard upper limit you can get at something. So how do you develop grit then? Like, well, the grit is predict success. How do you develop? And the way to develop grit is to act gritty. It's just to not give up.
Fake it.
When you fail. Yeah, you fake it. You fake it till you make it. And people talk about motivation. I'm like, how do you have the motivation to get up and run and do all this stuff? And it's like, well, you don't feel it. You create it. Like, if you don't want to go for a run, the way to want to go for a run is start running. It's when you're in that process, you just get up, do it. Go do it. It's like, don't make an excuse. Like, a lot of the time, I don't want to train. I don't want to lift weights. I don't want to run. I just start doing the thing. And then later with endorphin relief, I get the reward, the immediate reward for the endorphins. So I'm like, I'm glad I did that and I feel good about it, but you don't necessarily have it. So it's, you do it. And so you put yourself in those situations. If you're afraid to do something, you put yourself into a safe situation, you can do that thing and then do it again and over again and practice a lot. And so when I'm juggling blindfolded, I still struggle with it a little bit, but I actually recently lost the first record I ever successfully broke. So I talked about the fastest half-mile run while juggling. I ran 2,000 miles training, and I actually failed to break that record. Because at the end of that 2,000 miles, I hurt my knee. And they could not figure out what was going on with it. I mean, I went to the doctor, got a second opinion, x-rays, MRIs. They couldn't figure it out. And it was a year and a half before I was able to sprint again. And one, it ended up being a combination of the shoes I had, a tight IP band, pulling the knee out of joint, and just overuse injury. So I can run again now. But I had a choice to make at that point. It's like, do I give up on my dream of breaking a Guinness World Record? Or do I say, hey, I've set this goal and I want to achieve it? And what I did is I decided to pivot I realized I've just spent a couple of 100 hours doing the basic 3-ball cascade while running. I can almost do it with my eyes closed. Maybe I should try it with my eyes closed. And then I was like, but maybe not while running. So I stood in one place and practiced for several months for the longest duration blindfolded juggling. And in October of 2015, I juggled blindfolded. The previous record was 6 minutes, 29 seconds. And when I hit that 6 minute, 29 second mark, the audience of several hundred that were watching me cheered. I got so excited, I immediately overthrew a ball and dropped it. Broke the record by 5 seconds.
Okay.
But I broke my first Guinness World Records title.
Okay.
And then I broke that same one again a year later at 22 minutes, then 32 minutes. And then this last year I actually lost the record. It's the first record I ever broke. I've held it the entire time. I just lost it. Somebody else juggled, I think, for 30 or 43 minutes blindfolded.
Wow. When you go see your doctors and you say, like, look, my forearm is killing me, I just juggled for 10 hours. Does your doctor look at you and say, stop juggling? Like, what is the feedback?
That particular record I did not tell the doctor about. I didn't go, I was like, I know what happened to my arm. I don't need to see a doctor about this.
Oh, so you knew what was going on. So you self-diagnosed.
I mean, I threw a ball 125,000 times and my arm hurt. There wasn't much.
Sure. But that's the thing. Like, it's important for a doctor to be in tune in knowing who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Because if a patient comes in, has pain in their forearm, and I'm like, well, look, this pain isn't so bad. I'm not really worried anything. But if now my patient is trying to set a world record to juggle for 13 hours straight, my treatment plan is going to be very different. Not that I would necessarily know what to do, because like, oh man, how do you prepare someone for that kind of feat? Mm-hmm. But it's important that we adjust to the person sitting in front of us as opposed to just following the guidelines. Well, you know, everything's intact. The MRI looks good, but can you perform? Mm-hmm. That's an important part of it. I think about champions, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan have talked about visualization.
Yeah.
And imagining yourself being in the victorious position. Have you ever used that strategy?
All the time. all the time. And there are studies that show, free throw shooters, for example, you got beginner, intermediate, and expert free throw shooters. And they say, hey, what you're going to do is they did a control group for each. Beginner, half of you shoot free throws, shoot 100 free throws a day. Other half, visualize yourself doing it. Intermediate, same thing. Expert, same thing. What they found is the beginner free throw shooters that didn't know how to shoot a free throw, the people that actually practiced got much better. If they just visualized, they didn't get better. The intermediate ones that knew how to shoot a free throw, the ones that practiced got better, but the ones that visualized got better just as much. All they had to do was visualize it. And the reason is they knew the proper motion. They knew what they were thinking about. They knew how to visualize what they're doing. And the brain is actually doing those things in the brain, consolidating those memories. The neurons are actually firing. And so since they were doing it right while they thought about it, they improved just as much.
Yeah, the neuroplasticity of how the brain adapts to certain situations is so amazing from the visualization standpoint. But also something that I've noticed anecdotally within myself is if I watch professionals do a sport, perform a task, and then I go do it, I feel like I almost know what I'm doing, even though I haven't done that thing in a really long time. We actually just had the blessing of being able to play basketball at Madison Square Garden. And I've never done a spin move with a drive to the basket. Like, it's just not something I regularly do. But I was watching a game the other day in Madison Square Garden of St. John's, and I'm like, I want to try that move. And I've never done it. This is no practice, but I saw the person do it. So I said, I'll just do what I visualized, and it happened. But it's not because I practiced, it's because I watched this gentleman do it before me. And it's interesting because we actually have done functional MRI studies where we watch an action movie, we watch a sporting event. The same areas in our brain light up as if we're doing those things. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and when you're doing something, we talk about muscle memory. That's the colloquial term for it. But the way I actually think about it is the neuron memory. It's the myelin sheath being strengthened along that neural pathway from when it fires. And when it first starts, the first time you do something, it's like a leaky hose. That the signal doesn't go off from your brain out to the arms to make the action happen. And then that's where a lot of people give up. They're like, oh, I'm not good at this. I can't do it. I'm not good at making a layup or remembering people's names or being good at social conversation. I don't make new friends. But these are all things that can be learned by practicing them. And when you do it for the first time, of course you're not good at it. Of course, not all that signal's making from your brain out to where that signal needs to go. But as you perform the action over time, practice it, and then sleep on it, where those memories are consolidated and your brain reperforms those actions while you're asleep, that myelin sheath around that neural pathway becomes stronger so that more of that signal goes the next time and the next time. And so when I'm practicing for a record, I'll often start and be like, hey, I'm terrible at this. I'm awful. Can't do it at all. But with a growth mindset and grit and understanding how the brain works, I can practice those things, and I know I'm eventually going to get better. And I might hit a plateau somewhere along the way. And this happens to folks when they're like, well, I tried it, I was okay at it, but then I hit a plateau and I gave up. But if I keep pushing through, I always make it through that plateau.
Really?
Always make it through that plateau. Yeah.
What is your strategy lifestyle factor wise? What do you take into account when you are in training mode? Besides obviously repetition.
Yeah, well, repetition and then sleeping on it, and because
that's important,
and knowing that it takes time a lot of the time. So right now, in any given
patience,
patience, practice, and longevity. Because at any given time, I'm probably practicing in some way or another for 30 to 40 different records per week. And a lot of it's general fitness, running, balancing, lifting weights, that sort of thing. But then I'll practice for the specific action of, okay, I need to blow up so many balloons with my nose. I'm going to work on my lung strength to push out the air through my nose. And I'm going to do the finger strength and I can pull it apart and tie the balloon and that sort of thing. Or I'm doing the little finger squeezy things for, snapping cucumbers or bananas or pencils or records or, there's a lot of overlap between the training. And then sleeping on it and then coming back and practicing the next thing the next week. Knowing that it takes time, and then because I set a goal in 2021 of breaking 52 Guinness World Records in 52 weeks. You don't do that by picking a new record every week. It's like, here's the list of records I've got, and I need to practice for 20 to 40 per week over the year to make sure it happens.
How do you deal with the frustration in moments where the mind will creep up and be negative? It's bound to happen. Like for me, training boxing, I'm like, I'm not seeing the improvement. I'm frustrated. What's your strategy to talk back to yourself?
Having some positivity is really important. And the other thing is I've, especially when I'm trying to break a record in front of, sometimes I've got witnesses and timers there, but maybe not a large live audience. And so I can try a 30-second or a minute record 4 or 5 times in a row. And I used to just get so frustrated, get mad, and I'd be like, dang it, and like, timer, you did something wrong, or I'm lashing out, or just being negative. And my wife's like, all these people are here helping you out today, and you're not treating them very well.
I used to do the same thing while filming videos.
Yeah, and I was like, Jennifer, you're absolutely right. I need to have a better attitude, treat these people with respect. And what I found actually is if I'm not in that negative mind space, I actually perform better myself. Mm-hmm. And even when I fail, if I've got a better attitude towards other people and towards myself, I'm more forgiving, and then it makes it easier to come back the next time without that negativity. And the negativity also, makes me more nervous as well as gets me more frustrated, and then it makes it harder to perform.
You start thinking about, what are those people thinking? Am I upsetting them? Now I upset them. They're going to do the timer wrong, and the brain just starts spiraling at that moment.
Yeah, and it's not helpful. Mm-hmm.
Do you have strategies for the positive thinking? Are you doing 3 positive things at night? Are you talking back to yourself, therapy, any of these things?
So we have a thing in our house with the kids, like, hey, what are your roses and thorns today? Or your highs and your lows? What's the best thing that happened today and the worst thing? And then we talk about them with the boys and my wife, and it's helpful that, when you're in a bad mood, if you can think of one thing.
Yep.
And what I found myself is when my 5-year-old's like, I don't know, nothing will happen good today. And I'm like, you know what? I have that attitude myself sometimes. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it. When I'm in a bad mood, I want to drag myself back into that mood. But if you can find those positive things to talk about, like, hey, for example, this last week I was, I had a videographer in town, and I tried to break some world records to get him on film. And actually I tried 11 world records this last week, and I was successful in 9 of them. Wow. And I want to focus on those 2 that I failed at. But if I think, 9 world records in 1 week, I think that's the most I've ever done. This is awesome. I did great. I don't have to worry about those 2 that I failed at.
When I talk to folks about, actually when we started this conversation, I said that you learn to love failure, and you said no one loves failure. It's in the same way when I tell folks you need to make stress your friend, because we've actually seen through really good scientific research that our outlook on what stress is impacts how it impacts us. Mm-hmm. So we've actually done research where we've seen people who have high levels of stress live shorter lives than people who have lower levels of stress in their lives. But then when we stratify them further into people who have high levels of stress, but view stress positively, as in it's getting you ready to overcome a challenge, it's making your body more fit, this is something that's needed for growth mindset, those people, even when you compare them to people who had less stress, they live longer. So it's not only how much stress we have, but also how we view stress. So the more we can view stress as our friend, the more that it's going to work in our favor. And that's why I said, I feel like when you look at failure, you look at it as an opportunity as opposed to, oh, this is discouragement for me that I failed. Mm-hmm. Has that always been the case for you, or is this something you learned throughout the journey?
You learn it throughout the journey. And breaking world records, I used to get super nervous beforehand. Now, most of the time I don't. A little bit of stress, that's good. A little bit of nerves helps me stay focused, and up in the weeks or months leading up to the attempt, if I know there's a big one coming up, it helps me to be motivated to go out and practice. Like, hey, I need to make sure I'm ready for this. And it's a lot like, public speaking for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Number one fear for a lot of folks. And it's like, before I get in front of an audience, I get these butterflies in my stomach. There's a point where those butterflies can become debilitating and you can't perform. And most people, when they're talking, they're like, I was so nervous in front of an audience. For the most part, that's not, the audience doesn't even see that, but you feel it way more than you see it. So there's a nice balance. Like, you should be nervous before you get up and talk. You should be nervous because you need to be on point. You need to have a little bit of adrenaline, or to make sure you're performing and you're thinking about what you need to do. There's a point where, if you get blackout nervous and you can't think, can't perform, can't juggle, that's a problem. But a little bit of stress in moderation absolutely helps with performance.
So a little bit of stress is good. Acute stress helps us grow. It helps our muscles grow. Carrying weight on our bones helps our bones stay strong. Mental health challenges, short-term, are good. When it becomes chronic, it becomes problematic. Mm-hmm. Sometimes acute stresses can be really bad. When you had your 52-week, 52 world record challenge going on, you had appendicitis.
Yes.
How the hell do you manage that?
Not very well, I tell you. I was in the hospital. Most painful experience of my life.
Okay.
And part of the reason was I was in the emergency room there. Well, I'm trying to remember. I've been in emergency room a few times for appendicitis, meningitis, and a couple other things. Food poisoning here in New York City once.
Okay. Sorry about that. I apologize. For
I shouldn't eat the hot dog off the street. That was a bad choice. So I've got appendicitis, and I didn't know for sure what it was, but I got transferred to the ER, and they're going to perform surgery on me.
Are you telling them while this is going on?
Telling who?
You have like the doctor's like, hey, I got to get back to this thing.
Oh, no. I was in so much pain. I just wanted
so you were like, I want to live.
Yeah, I do. I was like, I want to live. But unfortunately, there was a traumatic car crash right at the same time. So there was multiple
in the
people
hospital.
In the hospital.
You weren't in the car.
So I'm in the hospital waiting for surgery, but there was a car crash where other people were in much greater need than I was. Like, the surgery needs to happen immediately or these people are going to die. So I ended up waiting for hours in the room.
In pain.
In absolute pain. And I'm literally screaming, help, help. My wife's sitting there like I was in so much pain. Eventually I got the surgery. All was fine. Other than I'm getting, a tube in my stomach and no appendix. So it's got to heal up. And that healing process, just a couple weeks and I would have been ready to go back to action. But then I got C. diff. For folks who don't know, this is an infection that usually happens after a course of antibiotics, where you wipe out a lot of the organisms in your gut. You have an overgrowth of this Clostridium difficile bacteria, which creates monstrous, foul odorous diarrhea that spreads very easily. It's not a fun experience. It was awful. It took me months to recover from this in terms of getting my gut health back to where it needed to be and fatigue and issues. So I'm trying to make 52 weeks, but I'm like, well, what record can I break here? So I'm like, I got some ping pong bouncing ones. So I'm trying to bounce ping pong balls for these records because that's about all I can do.
Wow. So you were battling multiple medical situations simultaneously and you still did it.
Yeah, I still made the 52 records in 52 weeks. The final one of the year was the furthest distance walked with a running chainsaw balanced on my chin.
With a running chainsaw balanced on your chin. That sounds dangerous.
I bounce a lot of stuff on my chin. This one is one of the most dangerous.
Specific, like you're looking at records to be broken. Why are you like chin? I feel like I have a solid chin. Why are you thinking chin?
Because most of the records that I've broken already exist in the Guinness World Record database. And so they don't have one for the forehead and nose for the chainsaw running on the chin. So it's like, hey, I see this one. I'm gonna apply for it because it's an existing record.
Okay.
And a lot of the records have to do with balancing. But if you understand physics, the rate at which something tips is inversely proportional to the height of the center of gravity. So basically, the higher the weight is on the object, the slower it tips over. So say, for example, like a broom with a broom head on top, or a lawnmower, which I also balance on my chin, with the head on top, it tips over slowly. But a chainsaw with a heavy motor right next to the chin and a light blade in the air, that actually tips over much faster because of the lower center weight of gravity, or the other term I use is squirrely. It's a squirrely thing. And then when it's running, it's a two-stroke gas motor. It's really shaky right there in the chin.
And smelly.
Shaky, smelly. The shakiness is much more concerning than the smell to me. I did it outdoors, so I'm not too worried about the carbon monoxide poisoning.
Okay.
But when I do this, I'm wearing a helmet, goggles, gloves, a big thick jacket, and then a neck gaiter to protect my neck as well.
Good. Okay,
so I was trying to have and even then I was super nervous about this one. And so I broke the record. I walked 63 meters, and I'm like, yeah, I could probably go 400, but I don't want to do it again right now.
Wow. Have you ever gotten seriously injured trying to perform one?
So I've been injured many times during records. Usually it's not during the record attempt itself, unless it's kind of like a planned thing. For example, like I've got the record. I had the record for the fastest half marathon skipping.
Fastest half marathon skipping.
So 13.1 miles, that hop, step, skip, hop, step, skip. I started training for that one. I'm like, where is it okay for an adult to skip? And I started training on a trip to Disney World.
That's an acceptable place to do it.
So this is back when the fast passes, you had to go physically to the ride, put your ticket in, and they give you a fast pass. And so I tell the family, hey, I'll go across the park, get fast passes here, and I'll meet you over there. So I'm skipping across the park everywhere to get my training in. But then that skipping motion, the sliding motion of the foot in the shoe,
blister probably.
Just absolute huge blisters and blood blisters. Yeah, right on the ball of the foot.
So how did you treat that?
Time, it's like, well, I can't go skipping for another week now.
There's great products on the market called Second Skin. Have you heard about those?
Is that the stuff you? Tell me about it.
It basically like glues on to your foot, essentially becomes skin until new skin grows on, and then it falls off.
Okay.
So you can wear it, shower with it, do it. You could also put it on blisters, obviously, in the back of your leg as well. And it stays on for a period of time. There's also ones with padding on them, like colloid ones with like a little fluid inside to help ease some of the padding. But I think they work really well because when I grew up, I played soccer a lot. And for some reason, when I played soccer, the blisters were terrible. Like, they would go to the bone. So I would put one of those on and it's like nothing. It's like you have fresh skin right there.
Wow.
So I wonder if one of those products would have worked for you.
I need to defend that record. So I'm going to look into that product because, and the shoes that I wear, I can only skip about 30 miles and the sole is completely gone off part of the shoe.
Oh my God. Do you get fresh? Do you email the people who made the shoe and say, hey, what's going on?
No, actually, what I'll do is I'll use the running shoes. And then once the running they're done with the running, I'll then repurpose them for skipping, skip the 20 miles and throw them away.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you having to buy a lot of pairs of shoes? Because, shoes have limited mileage you could put on them, but you're doing such incredible feats.
Yeah, I have actually a big stack of shoes in my closet because I wait until last year's model goes on sale, buy 4 or 5 pairs, and keep a stack.
Do you have to stay with the same shoe to make sure that it's consistent for what you're trying to do?
I've chosen to, and that's as much out of my early injury on. Like, my knee was hurting so bad, it was a combination of not having the proper shoe. I was wearing like a $20 cheap shoe, and I didn't realize the value of having support and arch support and making sure it's keeping the proper mechanics. And now I wear a $140 built for purpose running shoe.
So what shoe are you wearing now?
I wear a Brooks Adrenaline GTS.
Okay. Solid shoe. Very solid shoe. When you go through the process of trying to pick a world record or to create a new world record, to me, they feel like they're completely made up. Like, oh, I'm going to throw this brand of bottle across this room for this number of feet. Like, how are the records decided? They feel just random.
Yeah,
but they're not.
They're definitely not. And there's a list on Guinness's website of what makes for a Guinness World Records
Oh, what
title.
is that?
And it's got to be specific. It's got to be non-arbitrary. It's got to be breakable. It's got to be relevant. I mean,
Hold on, it's like a non-arbiary.
Well,
you walked 63 meters with the chainsaw balancing on your chin.
So
how do you decide arbitrary?
So in that case, it's the furthest distance walked. So it has to be beatable. So if somebody walks 64, they can break it.
But that doesn't make it non-arbitrary.
Well, yeah, I guess the non-arbitrary. I should look up what makes a Guinness World Record.
Okay. Maybe
so. It's got to be measurable. So can you measure it? Can you measure it? Or measure it. Some people say measure. I say measure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've been people who've made fun of me for that. I don't know if it's just an Idaho accent thing, or if I'm just saying
That's what I was like. Is that an Idaho thing? Sam's confused.
For as much as I measure things, I measure them a lot.
Well, as long as you measure them.
Yeah. And then is it breakable? Can somebody break the record?
Okay, so measurable, breakable.
Yeah. And then it's got to be standardizable. Is it possible to set parameters to allow everybody to be able to make an attempt anywhere in the world? And is it verifiable? Can you verify that this happened? And is there accurate evidence that will allow it? And then is it based on one variable? There's only one: longest, fastest, furthest, highest. It can't be most with this or the most fastest or the biggest, tallest. It's one variable. And then is it the best in the world? Has somebody done better? If so, you've got to do better than that would be the minimum mark. Yeah.
So, for example,
so non-arbitrary isn't part of it.
Okay, got it. Well, because I think about it and I'm like, okay, so can I submit the record of Doctor laughing to number of memes on on YouTube?
That probably would.
But it meets all those parameters. It's measurable. It's beatable. It's verifiable. We have the video of it.
And then there's the subjectivity factor of the Guinness adjudicator.
Oh, do they want that?
Do they want it? Yeah.
Got it. They prefer the chainsaw.
Yeah. I mean, but it's not like it's I think in the database, there's now about 69,000 Guinness World Records. So if you want to break one, your best bet is to go find one that already exists.
Have you ever created one?
I've created a few.
Really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
For example, the world's slowest juggling, which is defined as the fewest juggling catches in 1 minute. And yes, you have to be juggling the whole minute. You can't be holding them in your hands or drop the balls.
So they all have to be one ball to be juggling.
Three balls.
But 3 balls have to be in the air.
So,
or like, what's the rule?
So juggling, you've always got to have at least one ball in the air. And before that one catches, you have to throw the next ball.
So one ball in the air at all times.
At least one. 2 at the transition point.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So the juggling community had a record for this, the fewest juggling catches in a minute. But Guinness didn't have a category for it. So I applied to Guinness and said, hey, I think this is, there's the most catches in a minute. Let's do the least catches in a minute with 3 balls. Here's the current record in the Guinness community. And Guinness said, yep, that's interesting enough. It's verifiable, standardizable, single variable. We'll approve the record. The minimum mark is the current 26 that the juggling community has.
And what was your strategy to be the slowest?
So there's two main pieces of that. One is throw the balls as absolutely high as you possibly can.
Oh, okay.
So that's the number one.
So were you outdoors?
Yeah, I did it. I actually made the official attempt on the blue turf at Boise State University.
Wow.
So outdoors, nice wide open space, so I'm not going to run into things. And then an iconic location helps too. And the number two piece for the critical for that one is to wait until the last possible moment to throw the next ball, because you want to minimize the overlap of the balls in the air. Because basically you've got about a 3-second hang time. The longer you wait to throw it, the less the hang times are overlapping. Because if you throw the second ball when the first ball is way up in the air, then you've got both balls in the air, both their clocks are ticking at the same time.
Got it.
Basically.
And what was that record?
So I had 22 catches in 1 minute.
Okay. And how high do you think you were throwing the balls?
There was actually I did the math on this. I think it was about a little over 45 feet on average. About 1.5 times the height of the field goal post.
So that's pretty high. You're really tossing them. And
Yeah.
you did a first attempt.
I probably tried that 13 times or more.
Oh,
yeah.
on the field.
On the field, yeah. And I practiced hundreds of times before that. And my heart rate for that one, my resting heart rate as a runner is about 50 beats per minute. During the record attempt, my heart rate got up to 184 beats a minute.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were fully zoned in,
Like every muscle, throwing with the legs, the arms, the core.
Wow. And then when you're throwing the balls up in the air and you're catching them, have you ever done it where it's like you go to set out an attempt and the first attempt you're like, got it?
Yeah, there's often times for records.
Really? You're just doing it off?
Well, in practice, usually I practice so much that I know I can do it. And sometimes when I'm actually making the official attempt with all of the witnesses and timekeepers and stuff there, I do it. Yeah. Only a couple times that it happened where the first practice I do something, I did it because I can't even think of an example. I know it's happened a couple times, but
Sure.
that has happened a couple times.
What's the record you're most proud of?
So it's the hardest records that I'm most proud of. For example, the world's longest duration juggling. It's the hardest record I ever set, both logistically, physically, mentally. And then the other real hard ones are like, I'm the world's fastest juggler. It's the most juggling catches in a minute. And the interesting thing about that one is when I first tried to break it, 2015, 2016, I didn't really believe I could do it. There's thousands of professional jugglers in the world who are way better at juggling than me. Who am I to think I could become the world's fastest? And the funny thing happened is I was like, oh, I'm going to try it. So I got my baseline. How fast am I? And then I practiced for a week or two, did it again. I didn't improve. I can't do it. But then I chose to take this grit and growth mindset to heart. And it's like, no. If I believe I can do it, if I believe I can get faster, if I work at this with grit, I'm going to break this world record. And what I did then is that I'm not going to try to break this world. I am going to break this world record. It is now my goal. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to do it. And a funny thing happened when I had that mindset. I practiced and I got a little bit better. And as I got a little better, I believed it more. And the more I believed it, the more I practiced. And the more I practiced, the better I got. And I eventually broke that record and became the world's fastest juggler. I got 428 catches in 1 minute.
What?
It's over 7 catches per second.
How? When you say you practice, are you recording it and trying to see what movement you can do differently? What's a practice session?
Yeah, so deliberate practice is extremely important. Deliberate practice is practicing something deliberately. So I'm getting the practice and then getting immediate feedback. Like, hey, if I put my hands closer together, am I going faster? If I go further apart and throw them more sideways, if I hold one hand a little bit higher than the other, how does that affect it? If I use this juggling ball versus this juggling ball versus this juggling ball, which way is faster? And then figure out, okay, timing it, figuring out how many catches a second I'm get, what's the fatigue level in my arms, and then getting that immediate feedback and going session after session after session. And this whole time I'm working in tech too. So my practice sessions are, lunchtime, after work, and weekends. So that's when so every day at lunch, I go down to the office, had an in-house gym. I'd often go down to the gym and just be juggling in front of a mirror. So I'm getting that feedback. And so that deliberate feedback and the deliberate practice with immediate feedback is super, super important to improving, to figure out what's working, what's not working, and then trying harder.
Do you think you enter a state of flow when you're performing or practicing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's that times
you're not thinking about anything else. You're not stressed out about life.
No, completely blocking out. I mean, and when you get to that point, it's amazing because it's like I'm just in the zone, described as flow. And I love it when those times happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of humans. Something interesting. Have you ever read a book, The Power of Willpower or The Art of Willpower by Roy Baumeister?
Not that one.
He's been on this show as well, the author. And part of what he talks about is performance artists who stand in the street and don't move and hold certain positions. And they talk about it not being a physically demanding feat, but more so mentally. The fact that someone's walking by, the fact that someone is trying to be annoying, and that you're thinking about your day, and that's what makes you want to move. And that even though physically it's not super demanding, they come home and they're exhausted from the mental component of it. Do you feel that the willpower muscle is something that you lift with?
Oh, absolutely. That ability to realize, hey, I'm in the first 5 minutes of a 4-hour record attempt. Man, I have 3 hours and 50. If I start thinking about that 3 hours and 55 minutes ago, it's defeating. It's like, I can't, you can't think about it.
So what do you think about in that moment?
Something else. I'll count the number of catches I've got, or I'm thinking about, hey, what's it going to feel like when I accomplish this? Visualize the prize, the end goal. And when I think about, hey, this is what it's going to feel like when I accomplish it, that makes it much, much, much easier to continue.
So silly distractions are not silly distractions. This is a valid coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Because when I'm training for my boxing matches, I'm doing some of these wind sprints and I'm really just gassed. I'm thinking about the kid who bullied me in 3rd grade, just like ridiculous stuff that I've never thought about, because I was like, I just need to will it to keep going. And then you do it and you're like, wow, I'm totally capable of this. But if you just listen to what your body is saying in the moment, it's like, give up.
Yeah.
What question I have for you, and you may not have thought about it given the amount of failures and then successes you've had. We live in an era where we're trying to put a good emphasis on mental health, reduce mental health stigma. And the term of listen to your body, don't overwork yourself, don't get to the point where it's destructive. How do you balance getting to that point where you're listening to your body and you're not overdoing it and you're not pushing it, but at the same time setting new feats and telling your body, hey, I'm distracting. I set a goal. I don't care.
Yeah. So that's very important. And I do think about that on a regular basis, because, sometimes the mental state, I've had, depression at times in my life where I just don't feel like doing anything. I mean, and lasting for months, it's not just a sad day, but it's tough to get through that. And it's just a matter of get up, do it, get help, make sure you've got a support group, family, friends to come around you. And for the last several years, I've been in a great state and my mental capacity's been there. But when I think about that more on a physical aspect, like I'm working my body really hard because I want to be able to accomplish this thing. I need to be able to sprint a 100-meter dash while juggling blindfolded faster than anybody else ever has before. And to do that, I have to be out there doing wind sprints on a regular basis. And I want to be able to push my body to the limit to make sure I'm going to have a great recovery and be stronger and faster next time. But what I'm listening to my body there is it just like, physical pain from overexertion, or I'm actually injured? Because if I'm injured, I've got to stop.
How do you decide that? Like what's your secret?
Doing it over and over again to realize, hey, is this just a problem or an injury? I've oftentimes tight hip flexors, and when I hit those, I'll need to stop and stretch. And like, okay, if I sprint more, I'm actually going to injure this, versus am I just using this as an excuse to stop training because my lungs are hurting? And it's just
you're
a matter
checking in with yourself and really evaluating.
And sometimes it's, I can feel my hamstring's about to pop because I pulled that a couple times playing soccer. I got to stop sprinting, especially because it's 32 degrees outside and I need to take a break. Versus, I practice for balancing things on my chin for a long time, for like a lawnmower stuff. But when I'm training, I actually use a barbell, like a hand barbell, but I put like 40 pounds of weight on one end and a tennis ball on the other, and put the tennis ball on my chin. And what hurts when I first starting that is my jaw. My jaw goes out first, and then the neck gets really tight and it hurts. But the one that's really, really scary for me is actually the lower back. Because that doesn't hurt until the next day. So that's over trial and error, realizing, hey, when I'm starting to ramp up my training for balancing things on my chin, it's the lower back that I'm most at risk of hurting, and it's what doesn't hurt when I'm doing it in the moment. So I have to ramp that training up over time to avoid the lower back pain.
How do you decide what your ramp up protocol is?
Trial and error.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what have you learned that works well for you? How do you increase it? Do you go 10%? Is it time focused? Is it weight focused?
It's weight and time focused. Either I'll start with 30 pounds and then I make sure to do a nice warm up. The first balance will be 15 seconds, then 45, and then maybe a minute and a half. And then it's not until I've trained for 2 or 3 weeks that I can try to put that 40-pound weight on my chin for 2 or 3 minutes.
The reason I'm asking you these questions is because I feel when I see these hyper optimizers, biohackers on podcasts, they're like, this is the protocol. This is how you got to lift. This is how, and me being someone who lives in the real world, and why I say real world, because I feel like those people are taking it to an extreme that it ends up being outlier stuff. Most people, the way you get good at all these things is just consistency.
Yeah.
It's just showing up. That's the hardest thing. Not how long you did it, not which diet you followed, which exercise. If you just show up and do it, you're going to be ahead of 99% of people. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part of doing something is getting started.
Yeah, it really is.
And the second hardest part is finishing.
Yeah, that's true. And something when people are like, what is a hack? And it's like, well, if you think about hacks, I feel they should be targeted to make the starting point easier. So if that means putting, like Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank was on this podcast, and she said she makes sure to put her athletic shoes near her bed. So when she gets out of bed, she puts them on right away. So it's like, I already have my shoes on. I might as well go.
Yep.
It's things that will expedite the start that might be a hack that you could use. Have you used any hacks like that?
So one of the things I really love efficiency, like as an engineer, and
You gotta love
you
that,
know,
right?
with the limited amount of time, you got to be efficient. So I worked in downtown Boise. It was about a 20-minute drive away, 9 miles. But I'm like, hey, if I bike to work, I can get exercise during my commute and I can avoid the traffic coming home. And so it only takes me about 32 minutes to bike. So it's only an extra 10 minutes and I get the exercise out of it. So what I do is I have the shoes and the bike clothes right there, ready to go in the morning when I wake up. And then I don't check the weather. I just go. And then when it got cold,
What if it's colder? You got to dress differently?
so I've got, you know, for the cold, I've got layers and I've got the bike jacket and then the different set of gloves. And when it gets down to that temperature, I actually have to like, hey, which gloves do I wear? Is it 30 degrees or 20 degrees?
Okay, fair.
It changes the gloves. And then as I'm going, which layers do I take off? And then I did it enough times. I just know what to wear when I get up and then just go. And just making it easy to have that habit. And for a while there, I was biking. And so what I did is I actually, you know, I have my phone on the charging nightstand and there was a Peloton there next to the bed. And what I would do is before I can check my email in the morning, I have to be on the bike. So I just get up, literally roll out of bed, hop on the bike, and then I'm checking my email, reading the news in the morning.
Okay.
And you know,
still getting your blood moving and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. What's your take on, I don't know if you're familiar with them, like the David Goggins and these people that are...
He's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got my YouTube channel, Record Breaker Rush, and I'll laugh and it's like, this guy's the David Goggins of juggling.
Yeah, well, that's why I see.
And he punishes his body more than I think I'm willing to. Because, you know, if I'm running to the point my foot's broken, it's going to set me back in so many other places that I don't want to make that sacrifice because it's going to cost me 10 other records I can't break anymore.
And your actual life.
Yeah.
Like family and all of these factors are so important in setting all these records.
Yeah.
Like I can't say, because it's not a validated thing, of what is the greatest benefit to you having your success, or not benefit, what is the greatest factor that's led to your success with juggling. But for mental health, the thing that gives us the best outcomes in the people who have the best outcomes, it's having a support system.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the factor that like we really try and hammer home.
So, I mean, without a support system, I would not be able to do what I did. I have my wife, Jennifer's the most supportive person in the world. I could not do what I'm doing without her. And even the days, sometimes, you know, she has bad days too. And I'm trying a record attempt for the 8th time when I told her it's only going to take 5 and she's tired of that it's taken longer than it should. And we got family time and I got to clean the dishes and get ready for people to come over. And when she's projecting that negativity because she's got a bad attitude because I've not met my end of the bargain, that makes it 10 times harder for me to continue. And it's not to say I couldn't continue and couldn't do those things. It just is that one extra barrier. It's the shoes being across the room instead of being by the bed that gives me one extra chance to quit. So when she's supportive, I'm way, way, way better off. And I worked in tech at Cradlepoint for 13 years. And the executive staff there, the managers there were really supportive of me, breaking records. And I was talking about STEM education and the importance of, kids doing well and talking about how Cradlepoint is a great tech company in Boise. So I'm bringing a benefit to them, but they were also supportive of me. If they said, we don't want to make these YouTube videos anymore, like Apple told Mark Rober, and he eventually quit. Yeah. He kept making YouTube videos, and then he quit Apple because YouTube was super successful.
Exactly. Has the journey to getting all these records and having some of them broken contributed to your hunger for wanting to set or hold the current amount of world records and that be a world record?
All right, so you heard my 2024 goal.
Yes.
My 2024 goal is to hold the most concurrent Guinness World Records titles, and that's probably my most ambitious goal yet. 2021 goal was 52 records in 52 weeks. This is to hold the most,
and that's hard because you're setting records, but then other people might be taking some of your records.
Yep.
So it's like happening on both ends.
Yeah, so I'm one person trying to set the records, and there's 7 billion people out there that could be trying to take them.
And hopefully after this interview, there's going to be even more competition. People are going to be like, oh, we're going to set out to make 2024 a challenging year for you.
I hope there's more viewers and subscribers and less competition. I know that's not going to happen.
Well, what are some of the challenges you've set forth in 2024 to make that a reality?
Yeah, so there's some records. Like one recently I just did was the furthest soccer header.
Okay.
I played soccer my whole life. It's my favorite sport. I probably spent as much time doing that as juggling, but I hold 40 juggling world records and 0 soccer ones. So the furthest distance I had a soccer ball into a target.
So that requires someone kicking the ball at you?
So you can either self-throw it, it can be thrown at you, or kicked at you. And so I tried practicing for all those. The kicking at me is the hardest one.
But that's the one you're going to get the most distance.
Yeah, possibly. The trick is it's got to be into a small target. And so if you don't have enough accuracy, your head's going to wear out before you
that's
get it
got to
into
be
the
like
target.
concussive.
I was a little bit actually I wasn't concerned enough about this one until after I broke the record, because I had what I settled on is the person throwing it at me with an overhead throw, like a throw-in, was accurate enough and provided enough power that I could hit it the full 16 meters to break the current record of 15.1, but it still took over 90 tries. And
that's a lot of shaking.
Yeah, the force required to get it over 50 feet left my head hurting more than I expected, even the next day.
Yeah.
And so this is one I was actually, like a lot of the times when I'm, slicing kiwis with the samurai sword and a Swiss ball, I'm thinking about, this is dangerous. Super sharp sword, pointy end. If I fall off, I got to impale myself. For the soccer one, I've headed soccer balls my whole life. I didn't think about it until the next day. I was like, man, how dangerous is this? Did I give myself a concussion doing this?
Yeah. The answer is probably yes, like a minor one.
Yeah.
Because concussion really doesn't have it's not something you get imaging. You're like, yeah, you have a concussion. It's symptoms. It's what happened, mechanism of injury. And in your situation, your brain got rattled around and you had symptoms, concussion. It's a concussion without loss of consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
And I felt that the first time I did sparring, where I had full headgear on and all of this, and it was very mild. And it was just like my entry into the boxing sparring world. And I got some light jabs thrown my way. And I'm like, the next day, what the hell? My head hurts so much. The brain doesn't like to get rattled.
Yeah. Fortunately, most of the pain was on my forehead, like the skin and the bone here.
Okay.
So it was more superficial, but
so it wasn't like a full
it wasn't a full
global
headache. It was just like, this is bruised right here.
Okay. So maybe a little bone bruise, because bones themselves don't really feel pain.
Yeah.
It's the periosteum that covers the bone that really causes the pain. And that's why a lot of times when you break a bone, it's more nausea than pain. Have you ever done any records that make it that you're consuming a lot of food or liquid in a given moment where it's like really tough?
So 2 of the records I've broken is the fastest time to drink a liter of lemon juice through a straw. So it's
My saliva just started going.
mine too.
The
Every time I
glands.
talk about it, I think about it.
Have you practiced this already?
I've held the record before.
What?
So I did it. It's the straw. I drank the lemon juice in 16.62 seconds, and then I lost the record. At 16 seconds. And actually, I've just made an attempt at it again. And I did it this time in just under 14 seconds. This time, though...
Do you throw up after?
This time I did.
Okay.
I think I got maybe a quarter of it out. But then I've got a stomach ache for a little while. And I'm like, is this a health risk for me? Is having that much acidic stuff in my stomach an issue? Some people say it is. Some people say it's not.
I'll put it this way. Is it outside the norm of what the human body experiences? Yes. It's not something that the body's ready for. Is it a terrible risk where you're like destroying your body? Probably not.
Okay. And it's a straw.
Because gastric acid is so powerful as an acid that like lemon juice is up there, but the gastric acid hangs out there all the time too. I'm surprised you don't get like a sore throat or Like a hoarse voice afterwards.
Well, actually, this time when I was spraying out the lemon juice, I had all these bubbles at the top. And so I decided to slurp those bubbles out with the straw, and it went to the back of my throat, and I'm like coughing before I'm making the record attempt. It's all sore. I'm like, I'm like, dang it, I'm trying to make a record attempt, and I can't hard to breathe.
And then you do that with lemon juice or lime juice?
So lemon juice is one record, and then lime juice is another. So I just bought the lime juice, but I haven't made that record attempt this year.
Okay,
and so
but that's coming.
That's coming because I was like,
what's
man,
that current record?
It's right a little over 16 seconds.
Okay, so you could beat that.
And so I think it should be about the same as the lemon juice. The last time I did the lime juice afterwards hurt a lot worse than the lemon juice.
Why?
I don't know.
I wonder if there's a pH difference between the two. There probably is.
But I practice with water.
Would you ever find yourself making entry into the competitive eating space?
I hate the eating records.
Wow.
Because they hurt the stomach. I don't just, that much food, that
And
much.
juggling doesn't hurt the arms?
I mean, not the same way.
Really?
The arms is like, hey, I feel like I've accomplished something. That physical strength stuff, it feels good to accomplish something with physical strength or speed. But just the stomach expanding that fast is a pain that I know isn't good for me. So mentally, I'm like, I don't like this pain. It's not making me stronger. It's not making me better.
It's an organ visceral pain.
Yeah. The eating records I do have, though, are like the most peas eaten in 1 minute with a toothpick. So stabbing the peas one at a time, eating with it. So that's more of a speed-based record, and the amount of peas I can eat in a toothpick doesn't overexpand my stomach.
So your fine motor control's got to be through the roof.
It is a practice skill, yes.
So does setting all these records help you be a better human?
The one place I see it all the time is anytime I drop something, open the fridge and like the glass jar falls out, I catch everything.
Wow.
Yeah. Like it's just, I mean, I'm
reflex
surprised.
has got to be
And even if it's below my catching, I'll catch it with my foot.
What about that? Boxers do that training where they drop the tennis ball and they have to catch it. You probably crush that.
Oh yeah, those I practiced that, and the reaction time stuff. I love those exercises.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those visual fields where you have to like tap the thing at Dave and Buster's. Have you ever done one of those?
Yeah, I do those. I
you
do
crush
those with my
those?
kids. I don't know if I crush them, but I do pretty well at them. Yeah.
There's actually some research being shown that being a competitive person at that makes you less likely to get a concussion in NFL.
Okay.
Because you're more likely to have spatial awareness that if a hit is coming, you can brace for it.
Yeah.
I thought part of the danger is.
I thought it's because you were practicing at David Buster's instead of playing in the NFL.
That's probably true as well. But that does help a lot, because I feel when I'm in the boxing ring, the shots that hurt the most are not the most powerful ones, are the ones you don't see coming.
Yeah.
Where you don't brace for it and it comes from low, you didn't see it and you get hit. Oh, that just is brutal.
Yeah.
Very painful and really unhealthy to do, I should probably say, because it's not great that a doctor is recommending people to do that. So I don't recommend that.
Yeah. I almost had a bad injury once that would have got me good. I was trying to run the fastest mile while juggling blindfolded. And so I've got a blindfold on. I found a big long street. And what I did is I had a car driving in front of me with the trunk open so I could run after it and the cameraman could be in it. They accidentally stopped and I kept running and almost ran into that. And I'm like, that would have been me running at 6 minute mile pace right into a door open.
So you set that record?
I did set that record, but I said, car, you go way the heck out.
Okay,
I don't need
zoom.
the cameraman can barely see me, but I had others running with me to the sides. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you have the fastest mile blindfolded.
Yeah.
I can't close my...
While juggling.
You were juggling too?
Yeah.
I'm on the treadmill the other day and I close my eyes for 2 seconds and I can't stay on the treadmill without falling off, going side to side. But you're setting records doing that. How much harder is it blindfolded?
I would say significantly, because I don't think anybody else
is it a speed? It slows you down speed wise, or just makes it difficult coordination wise?
It's mostly the coordination piece. And then the other big piece is you got to stay on the road.
Sure.
So I had people running next to me and then telling me, like, just visually create the road. It's 5 lanes. Tell me if I'm lane 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Try to stay on lane 3. So if they tell me 4, I need to drift to the left. Tell me 2, I drift to the right. And I would practice on the treadmill. So I'd get a nice even cadence running and juggling on the treadmill and then try to close my eyes for 5-10 seconds to...
Are you a good dancer?
I have I really enjoy dancing. I do some swing dancing. I grew up square dancing. I actually do a little square dance calling because my dad did that when I was a kid, so I knew some of the calls. Yeah,
I feel like that's got to help with the cadence stuff, like staying on the same pace. Because I'm terrible at that, and I'm a terrible dancer, and I feel like that contributes.
Yeah, staying on a treadmill helps. For that one though, I was probably running a little over 6 minutes, 6:30 mile pace. If I run too fast, the arms get oxygen deprivation and get shaky at the end. But then I drop the ball probably 10 times during that mile, and so when that happens, you have to pick up the ball, go back to where you dropped it, put the blind back on, restart. And so one of the restarts took him like 4 or 5 tries to restart. Wow! So that ate up most of that.
What
extra time.
balls do you use? That's a weird question.
Juggling balls.
Like, what is that?
So I use G-Balls E8 Pros for most of my juggling records, except for Speed Ball, I use N8. And the way I found this actually is before I ever broke a world record, I was on a Disney cruise and I met a professional juggler, Niels Dunker, who's now like the president of the International Juggling Association. But I met him on the cruise, never broken a world record. He had 3 of them. So I was like, hey, I'm trying to train for my first world record, but I developed a horrible allergy to my juggling balls. Because most juggling balls are filled with millet, which is a seed that I developed a horrible allergy to during college. And so it started like
maybe it was a sign from above that you should.
Maybe it was. I mean, it got me stopping juggling for like 10 years because it went from like I get a little sniffly after an hour session.
What was the point of having the millet in there?
So the millet is the filling for the ball. It just feels good. It makes it squishy, takes it round. It's got a good rebound.
So it's a squishy ball.
So it's it's a little bit. It's not super squishy, but it's got a little bit of give.
What's the consistency? Is it like a hockey ball or a baseball, like tennis ball? Like
it's a bean. I've got it. It's kind of like a bean bag, but a little bit stiff.
Like
hacky sack? A very round, full hacky sack. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So it's got a little bit of give. And then in millets, I mean, you can have like stage balls that are hard plastic or bouncy ones, but the ones I like are like just got a little bit of squish to them, a little bit of give, made of leather. But I developed a horrible allergy to my juggling balls, and he said, "Hey, I've got these juggling balls. They're filled with a plastic bead. They're really nice leather or fake leather." And the reason he liked them is because they're plastic instead of millet, because the seeds have import restrictions when you travel globally. And I actually had my juggling balls confiscated when I went to New Zealand once.
They took your balls?
Yes. And I got there like midnight. I've been traveling all day across the country, and the import person is like, "Do these juggling balls by happen to be filled with seeds?" And I was thinking there, well, if I tell her yes, I'm going to lose them. If I tell her no, she's going to cut them open. So I have to tell her yes, they're filled with seeds because they are, and they took them.
Yeah. Wow, that's messed up. Have you ever thought about launching your own balls? God, these questions.
So actually, I as a keynote speaker, I've created a juggling workshop to talk about, hey, when you're developing a new skill, it's difficult. You struggle at it. And this happens in the corporate world when you're trying something new for the first time. And so learning how to juggle is an analogy to learning a new skill. It's hard when you start, but through practice and deliberate practice and creating your own memory, you can get better at anything. And so I've got some mid-range, decent record breaker rush juggling balls I give out at those events.
Got it. Is there a world record for teaching someone who's never juggled to juggle? Can you teach me?
I could teach you how to juggle. I don't think there's a record for it.
How fast do you think you could teach me how to juggle?
With somebody with decent coordination like yourself.
I don't have good coordination.
I don't know. You're a boxer.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay.
The fastest I've seen somebody that says they didn't know how to juggle was probably between 15 minutes and 60 minutes.
Okay.
My 7-year-old.
So it takes time.
My 7-year-old right now is trying to learn, and he just got it. He called me this morning and said, I learned how to juggle today.
Wow.
But he's been practicing for a year.
Okay, but that's a different age thing. You're still learning your body and stuff. Okay, so you're saying I can learn.
Absolutely. Okay. Anybody can learn anything new.
But you're within the hour.
If you're dedicated to it and
focused. And
yeah.
Okay, maybe after this we're going to do it. But I know you set a world record with a good friend of mine, Howie Mandel.
Oh, yeah.
Because you went on America's Got Talent and you tried to set a world record.
And we were successful.
Well, wasn't there a time before that?
So I broke the record for the most fist bumps in 30 seconds.
Okay.
And that record actually went viral.
Okay.
And Howie Mandel is, a germaphobe, only does fist bumps. So it only made sense to try to attempt at the fist bump record with Howie on America's Got Talent.
Got it. Was there a time that you went on America's Got Talent and didn't set a world record?
The time before, I actually won on America's Got Talent. I did a t-shirt ripping contest with Terry Crews. Oh, okay. So it was the most t-shirts worn and torn in 1 minute. So Terry put on 30 t-shirts, I put on 30 t-shirts, and then we had to rep them off one at a time. The previous record was 28, and I got 29 ripped off in a minute.
Oh, so you did set it.
So I did break the record.
Okay.
Now what happened, so Terry Crews almost beat me, but he admitted afterwards he was ripping multiple t-shirts at a time.
You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that for the world record. So he almost beat me on the show. But then what happened is I was so focused on breaking the world record, I forgot to practice my speech of what are you going to wow us with next? And so I bumbled through that whole section. And after I saying offering 7 or 8 options for records, I finally found up a good one. Howie Mandel's like, yep, I'm good to go. Heidi Klum was a yes. And then Howie Mandel, on that time, he said no. When I did the fist bumps with him, he said yes. But it was Sofia Vergara. It was literally her first day ever being a judge on America's Got Talent. And she was on the fence. Like, I kind of liked it, kind of didn't. But my next record involved Kiwis. And so her tiebreak was, I don't like Kiwis, so no. So I broke the record, but didn't make it on to the next round by a very tight no vote.
Fair. How many fist bumps did you and Howie get?
I want to say like 383 in 30 seconds. Is that right? I have to look it up. I don't remember.
That sounds in 30 seconds.
It doesn't sound right. Maybe 283?
It can't be in the hundreds.
380. 380. Howie and I
in
got
how long?
30 seconds.
380 fist bumps?
I was moving so fast.
You were moving faster than the speed of light.
The judges didn't think they could see me moving, and they said no.
So our cameras wouldn't even be able to capture that. You need a slow motion camera.
380 in 30 seconds, that's what? A little over 12 a second, and your frame rate's going 30 or 60 times a second, so you should be able to get 5 to 10 frames per fist bump. You can catch that, absolutely.
Dan, what do you think? Can we beat it? For everyone listening, we're about to start pounding fists.
Gentlemen, we will begin in 3, 2, 1, go. $15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time.
I think we have a record.
Come on. I was counting. It's like 1.
You were counting? There's no way. You counted it? If he gets this accurate, I'm going to be more impressed than that over the record.
I think we got it.
No way.
No, I was going 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, well, folks, you learn how to set world records because now you got some competition in all these viewers. Mm-hmm. You also learned that failure is an opportunity to be great.
Yep. It's a failure does not define you. How you respond to it does, because failure is an opportunity to improve.
And the reality is everyone fails, and the most successful people fail way more than they succeed.
Yeah. They put themselves in uncomfortable situations because when you're at the edge of your limits, that's when you're learning.
Yeah, success. I forgot who said this, but success in public is done by the work done in private, right?
Yeah.
That's the real opportunity. But what people don't see is all the times that you struggle waking up in the morning. You're like, I don't want to do this, but you still go out and do it. Mm-hmm. And those are the opportunities that I hope people treasure. Because if you don't enjoy the journey, you shouldn't be doing it, right? The journey is the fun part.
The journey gives, the things that I've worked hard at are the hardest at are the ones I'm most proud of, for sure.
And the result is nice, but the whole journey was fun, growth, like the failure, the overcoming the failure. That's the exciting stuff.
The journey is what makes I don't know what I was going to say there. The journey makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, I think that's very true. All right, well, thank you so much. We're excited to see the 2024 journey continue and for you to hold all the concurrent records. You have to have all of them at once. Where do you want people to follow you?
So Record Breaker Rush is my handle. I've got a YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, Record Breaker Rush to follow along my journey of holding the most concurrent Guinness World Records titles in 2024.
Official update, David and I have been recognized as world record holders for the most alternate fist bumps in 30 seconds, team of 2. That means I am calling you out, Howie Mandel. Your move. Click here to see me react to Guinness World Records that confuse doctors like myself. And as always, stay happy and healthy.